What is going on YouTube? Running on Sports back here with another video. Today is our preseason week 2 review. We got 16 games to talk about from this past weekend. Some close games, some blowouts, and some top performers. So some good games, and we're here to talk about them today. If you have not already, please subscribe to this channel, leave a like down below. Follow our social media pages at runningun_sports on Instagram and at runningunsports on TikTok. And with that being said, we're going to get right into the video with the Patriots defeating the Philadelphia Eagles 35-0. Mac Jones had a pretty good game himself, 13 of 19, 146 yards. Still no touchdown yet for Mac Jones. He's been close to getting his first touchdown, but still pretty good game. And you see those stats makes you realize how good he really is at reading the defenses, and he definitely reads the defenses better than some veterans in the NFL do. He's a very talented, he's a smart quarterback for sure. And the Patriots improved to 2-0 on the year for preseason, and the Eagles dropped to 0-2 on the season. And Joe Flacco was the main quarterback for the Eagles, and just not that good of a team really. And they gotta figure something out, because they really, this year for Jalen Hurts is no excuses. And if he doesn't do well this next year, then there's probably a chance that he doesn't start next year. I can't imagine him not playing, not doing well this season, and then being able to come back and play and be the starter the year after. I just have a hard time seeing that happen. And so, we'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts. I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts. I hope he does well. And Cam Newton also had a good game himself. He went 8 for 9, 103 yards and a touchdown. So, right now there's clearly a battle between these two teams, and it's going to be interesting to see who ends up with the starting job. Week 1 probably is going to be Cam Newton, but how long will Mac Jones take to become the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots? That was the only game on Thursday, August 19th. Friday, August 20th, the Kansas City Chiefs and Arizona Cardinals played. The Arizona Cardinals won 17-10 with Shane Buechele, Kansas City quarterback from SMU. He pretty good game himself, 9 for 11, 115 yards and a touchdown. And despite Chad Henne having his nice playoff game closing moment last season, Shane Buechele is going to be a really good backup option if Patrick Mahomes was to go down for whatever reason, which I doubt. But Shane Buechele, might have a couple years in Kansas City and then might get a shot to compete for a starting job, and we'll see what happens. Pretty good player though. Cardinals lose this game, and the Cardinals really they're a pretty good team, but I think that they need to just improve on depth at a lot of positions. And Colt McCoy, 13 of 18, 113 yards and interception, but Shane Buechele really had a very good game and was really the highlight of that game. The Bengals versus the Washington football team. The Washington football team won 17-13. Ryan Fitzpatrick played quite a bit, 7 of 13, 96 yards. And the top performer for this game was Jarrett Patterson, the running back from the University of Buffalo, who had 8 touchdowns, 400 rushing yards in one college football game this past season, if you remember that. So very talented player, and seems to be doing all right in the NFL right now. And the Bengals, just they don't have anyone besides Joe Burrow, and that's really raises a big problem for that team in these type of games where depth is a factor. Their starters aren't that good. Neither is their second stringers going to be any good, because those are the guys, the starters, obviously starting over. So that was Friday's game. Saturday, most games were played. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Chicago Bears 41-15. The Bills coming off of a win versus the Detroit Lions. The Bears coming off of a win versus the Miami Dolphins. And the Bears, absolutely embarrassed this game. Andy Dalton went 11 for 17, 146 yards and a touchdown. Justin Fields took a huge shot in this game. Took a big hit after making some dumb comments, in my opinion, about the NFL speed being slow. And you don't say that kind of things as a rookie, and it caused him to take a big hit that probably could have been avoided, granted, if he had not said anything like that. Mitch Trubisky played very well, though. 28 of 20 of 28, 221 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah McKenzie had a nice game, 72 yards receiving on 7 catches. And the Bills dropping 21 in the second quarter and 13 in the first. So big offensive game for the Buffalo Bills. The New York Jets defeated the Green Bay Packers 23-14, and Kurt Benkert was the main performer for the offensive side of the ball for the Packers, but not enough. The Jets scoring 14 in the second quarter, and Michael Carter had a pretty nice game, 10 carries for 52 yards, and Corey Davis 4 receptions for 70 yards. Corey Davis, a guy that I think a lot of people are sleeping on right now, and I think that he's going to emerge and be a big star in New York. Zach Wilson's got to figure something out, but we'll see what happens. But I think that so far he threw 2 touchdown passes the last game versus the Packers, and granted the Packers don't have the best defense, and he went 9 for 11, so I thought they did pretty well. So we'll see how well he'll do later on in the season versus the first string guys. But right now it is backups right now, so it's not as competitive as it is in the regular season, and that's when we really see how good these guys really are. The Falcons versus the Dolphins. The Falcons dropped to 0-2 on the preseason after losing this game 17-37 and losing to the Titans 23-3. Tua Tagovailoa, 16 of 23, 183 yards and a touchdown pass. Pretty solid game for him. So it's impressive. Tua looked well in his time on offense. Felipe Franks had a great rushing game week 1, but he just cannot get it done as a passer. I would be pretty surprised if he made that Atlanta Falcons team, unfortunately. Big fan of him, but he can't get the job done passing the ball. And with the Falcons being in the situation where they are right now with 2 very old running backs and some great wide receivers, that's just not going to work. And obviously Matt Ryan's still there, but Matt Ryan's old, anything could happen. So you got to have a liable backup there for Matt Ryan if he is to go down. The Ravens win their 19th straight preseason game, 20-3 versus the Panthers. Panthers last week, they did not look good. Couldn't do anything on the offensive side of the ball. Ultimately lost in the game. Will Greer can't really lead an offense very well. That's what it comes down to. Really, there's not much to say on this game, but Will Greer, not that good of a quarterback in the NFL, and I'd be pretty shocked if he made the team, but it's just he can't lead that team and really has no control over the team at all. The Lions versus the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger played in this game, and he played very well in this game. He went 8 for 10, 137 yards and 2 touchdowns to rookie tight end Pat Freiermuth, and had a great game. Mason Rudolph came in 13 of 18, so very good game for him. But Dwayne Haskins only got to throw 7 passes, and be nice to see next week. I'm sure he'll get a lot more playing time. The Lions scoring all 20 of their points in the fourth quarter, so the Steelers looks like they need to add some depth in the defensive side of the ball. The Titans versus the Buccaneers. This is really one of the matchups that intrigued me. The Titans coming off a blowout win versus the Atlanta Falcons 23-3. And the Buccaneers losing, coming off of a loss. And the Titans destroyed the Falcons or the Buccaneers 34-3, and the defense shut down the Buccaneers, obviously without Tom Brady. Kyle Trask, another rookie quarterback who just does not look that good, and would be shocked if he got a roster spot on that team. 13 of 26, 131 yards and 2 interceptions. And I saw in college, especially in that Sugar Bowl versus Oklahoma, I don't think he could read the defense very well. You can have the best arm ever, but if you can't read the defense, it doesn't mean anything at all. So that's really what it came down to. Kyle Trask, Tom Brady's not going to be there forever. I mean, he might be, but when he does go, they got problems on their hand at the quarterback position. So we'll see what they do there. Maybe they're not going to address it. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, just because they have Tom Brady right now. But they really need to think about that, because Tom Brady could win a Super Bowl this year and retire, and they would not be set up for success under Kyle Trask. The Texans versus the Cowboys. The Texans, a team that I don't think will even win a regular season game this year. Texans defeat the Cowboys and 20-14, and solid game for Cooper Rush for the Cowboys. Ben DiNucci, a good game as far as passing yards, but he went 14 of 19, but 3 of those incompletions were interceptions. Ben DiNucci, not another guy who's fairly young, who I don't think will make the team. Being a quarterback's tough, but I just don't think he can get it done. He probably only was on the team last year due to the Dak Prescott injury. Dak Prescott coming back, he's probably on a shorter leash than he was last year. So we'll see. The Colts versus the Vikings. The Colts improved to 2-0, scoring 4 field goals to win the game, 12-10. And offense for the Colts really needs a lot of work. Jacob Eason, 16 of 27 for 132 yards. Some inaccurate throws. He's got a strong arm, but he's fairly inaccurate at times, and that's going to hurt him a lot. There's times where he might throw the ball too high and cause a drop pass, or he might throw the ball too high and cause a receiver to jump for a ball that, if he didn't have to jump for the ball, then he could be running down the field and getting more yards. And so, I think he really needs to work on that, and probably will be the week 1 starter, and that's something that will not fly versus starting NFL players. And they've managed to squeak past through special teams, but that's not going to help them at all in the regular season. Raiders versus Rams, another matchup that really intrigued me. Bryce Perkins, quarterback for the Rams, has had a great preseason showing, and I think that he'll definitely get a roster spot. On Saturday, 26 of 39, 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty good game for him. J.J. Koski, wide receiver for the Rams, another guy that I really like, and I mentioned last week, had a great game himself. 8 receptions, 61 yards. So pretty solid game from both those guys I mentioned on the Rams, but they did ultimately fall short by a point in the final, 17-16. And it comes down to a couple of plays at the end of the day. Preseason, if you're that close, I think that they're going to take that, and you get some young players performing well. I'm sure they'll take that. The Seahawks versus the Broncos, 30-3, an absolute blowout. Teddy Bridgewater had a pretty good game himself, and right now that quarterback competition is just so tight, and it's really the main story right now. And Drew Lock played a great game the past week, and the week before versus the Vikings came in and played pretty good, not great. 9 of 14 for 80 yards, and they got to figure it out, because both those guys are pretty good. The Broncos, watch out. I mean, they're going to be a pretty good team next year, and they could maybe squeeze into the playoff spot. They got Cortland Sutton coming back, Jerry Jeudy, and they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be pretty good, and it's a sleeper team for sure. That's my sleeper team right now, and don't be surprised if the Broncos make the playoffs, or if they don't make the playoffs. They're the team this year, like the Las Vegas Raiders were last year, to defeat the Chiefs and shock the world. And so don't be surprised. But right now, if I had to choose between a starting quarterback, and if I was the coach or general manager, whoever makes the decision, most likely head coach Vic Fangio, I'd see what happens week 3. If one of them's to get injured, there you go, there's your answer. But you know, I don't have a choice right now. If I had to pick, it would be pretty hard to choose between both these guys who both had pretty solid games the last 2 weeks of preseason. And then the Seahawks, I could talk about them for days, just how badly they played. Their defense is terrible, especially their secondary. A lot of what we saw last week, giving up just long plays to set up short field situations in the red zone, and it hurt them big time. And just some the offense couldn't get anything going. Alex McGough, who was cut from the team, guy that could not do anything. Sean Mannion, who I wish would have gotten a better shot, who probably will get a better shot this week. We'll see how good he is. I think that he could do pretty well. Went 13 of 23, 118 yards. But a guy that I see out on the free agency right now is Blake Bortles, and the Seahawks ought to be calling him up to back up Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, farthest from injury prone any NFL player could be, never missed. He's only missed one snap of games that he's ever started, and that was versus the 49ers. And but still having a backup quarterback is key to any team's success. And if someone goes down, you can't just put in some bum in there and expect to do well. It just doesn't work like that at all. So just the Seahawks defense needs to improve, and they need leadership at the quarterback position, especially at the backup, and we'll see what happens. Sunday, August 22nd, we had 2 games. We had the Cleveland Browns defeating the New York Giants 17-13, and Kyle Lauletta, pretty good game, 14 of 23, 152 yards, and not really much to say about this game. Wasn't the most entertaining game. Case Keenum threw a nice touchdown pass, and none of the team really had many starters in at all. So the Browns 2-0 on their preseason right now. Giants 0-2 after losing to the Jets in week 1. There's not a lot to say about this game, but the Browns, pretty good to see them taking care of business as they should be. If they can beat these teams, if this was a regular season game, they would have blown them out the water, and without a doubt. But winning these games builds a lot of confidence, I'm sure, for the coaches. The depth. The 49ers defeated the Los Angeles Chargers. It's 15-10. Trey Lance threw 2 touchdowns, 8 for 14, 102 yards. Wayne Gallman, 15 carries, 72 yards. A guy that's really underrated and didn't get the attention he should have gotten in New York, and now has the opportunity to show out. But he's in probably more of a tougher running back room versus last year where he was the starter when Saquon Barkley did go out. So he's gonna have to battle for whether it's the number 2 or number 1 running back spot. Trey Sermon, the rookie from Ohio State, very good player, but we'll see who ends up being the guy for the San Francisco 49ers run game, and it'll be interesting to see. The last and final game of the preseason, the Jaguars versus the Saints. The Saints defeated the Jaguars 23-21. Gardner Minshew just not having a good preseason at all. 13 of 21, 149 yards and an interception. Marquez Callaway, though, had a great catch from Jameis Winston and 5 receptions, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns, showing out for the Saints, and the only 2 touchdowns scored for the Saints. So pretty good showing for NFL teams this past week, and a lot of fun to watch. And this week we're going to see a ton of reserves. Probably no starters will start this week at all. And so we'll see what happens. We'll be releasing our preseason week 3 video coming out possibly tomorrow, the day after. Before Friday is when it will be out for sure. So subscribe for when that happens. Follow our social media pages at running gun underscore sports on Instagram, so you can be the first to know when we post, and at running gun underscore sports on TikTok as well, to be the first to know when we post. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.